to my beloved about the vineyard. Isaiah chapter 5 verse 1 to 7. It's a beautiful hymn regarding the love God had for his vineyard. When we look at this hymn from Isaiah and compare it to the parable Jesus spoke, there are a lot of similarities. I would like to take word by word and interpret this particular passage of the Old Testament from Isaiah and the New Testament from Matthew chapter 21 verse 33 to 43. Now what is the vineyard? Vineyard is Jerusalem. When people were led from their slavery from the land of Egypt, God brought them to the promised land. And this was the land flowing with milk and honey. And consequently, God wanted to remove thorns and thistles and stones from this land. And who were these thorns and thistles and stones? They were the Canaanites and the Jebusites. God removed them so that He could make a place for the people, His beloved people. And then He says, I planted the choice vine on that hill and put a wall around it. And then I dug a wine press and built a watchtower. Every word is significant here. He put a hedge around this vineyard is the wall of Jerusalem. Even if you go today, you will find that wall of Jerusalem. During the wars, during the invasions, this wall was very often demolished and rebuilt. God put this fence around it so that His own people, the choice vine, may be safe. And now what is the watchtower? Dear friends, watchtower is the temple in Jerusalem and the 10 Commandments, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy of Holies. That is the watchtower. You know, when you break a rule, the rule tells you you have done something wrong. And that is why the 10 Commandments are the watchtowers. The temple is the watchtower. And the chief priests and the religious leaders were in the temple who were supposed to be the tenants to take care of the people of the temple, everything that was there, but they were irresponsibly dealing with the people for their own selfish purpose. That is why Jesus was targeting these tenants. Who were these tenants? The chief priests and the elders. They were amassing wealth for themselves. They were trying to get everything for themselves, all the offerings, all that was coming to the temple. And besides, if you refer to this chapter 21, the previous part of this chapter, here we find Jesus chasing all those money changers, those who were doing business in the temple, those people who were having business and who had turned this place of prayer into a marketplace. And that's why Jesus, chasing them out, says, do not make the place of prayer into a marketplace. This is the house of prayer of my Father. Now, what is the wine press? Wine press is there to produce wine. You know, it could be wine wet or wine trout. Some say trout. There was a higher trout, a little tower, where the grapes were put for crushing. And there was a channel that would lead to another trout, the lower trout, where the juice will be collected. So that is the wine press, by which they would produce the choice wine. Actually, referring to the people had to come to the temple, they had to observe the 10 Commandments, and they had to produce good works, good fruits. But God says, what do I get? From this wine press, from this vineyard, I get only wild grapes. And therefore He is calling Judah and Jerusalem, people of Judah and Jerusalem, to witness between the vineyard and God Himself. And God says, what have I not done for this vineyard? I have done everything that was possible. Now what do I get? Briars, thorns and thistles and wild grapes. Now this is a beautiful simile, allegory or a parable to apply it to our own life. Dear friends, we might think that, oh, this parable is not applicable to me. Actually, it is really applicable to all of us. Now, who is the landowner? The absentee landlord is God Himself. During the time of Jesus, there were many landlords who had big fields and vineyards, and they would lease those vineyards to the tenants, and they would go to a far off country or to a far city, mainly to Damascus, to Jerusalem and to Rome, because they had some entertainment, they would like to spend their money. So absentee landlord represents here God Himself. And now who are the tenants? We all are tenants. And where is the vineyard? Precisely to zero in on, one of the vineyards that is entrusted with us is our body. This is our vineyard. And who is the tenant? You, the soul, the spirit, mind. You are the tenant. Now how we need to take care of this vineyard? First I said the body. You know, we have talents, we have health, we have resources. We just imagine the parable of the talents. One was given 10 talents, another was given 5 talents, another was given 1 talent. The man who received 10 talents, he multiplied into another 10. The one who received 5 talents, he multiplied into another 5. The one who received 1, he went and buried in the ground. He was so selfish. We are all called to multiply the resources that are given to us. Whether it is health, wealth, resources, time, or people around us, family members, sons and daughters, wife, husband, or relatives, or our neighbors. You know, we are tenants. Now let us come to very concrete application of it. I give my own example. You know, sometimes they say it's easy to preach but difficult to practice, right? I'll give my own example. This year, June, I went for a medical checkup. And the doctor told me, you are perfectly all right, you are very healthy. But some problem in your liver, he said. In my liver? Not possible. And doctor said, possible, and it is, he said. Well, and then he asked about my diet. What kind of diet you have? Salads, fruits, fish, meat, everything that I can eat. And then what about your alcohol consumption? Oh, I don't drink alcohol at all. Wine? Oh, yes. Every day? Yes. Well, I said to the doctor, doctor, it is said that red wine is good, and people told me every day a glass of wine keeps you healthy and good. People say many things, but for you, every day a glass of wine is not good. No, doctor, I have read in the internet, I have read so many articles, red wine is good. For you, red wine is not good. Full stop. So from June 9 till today, I only drank 3 times red wine, because when I went for some programs, people say, oh father, little bit, you know, nothing happens, 1 glass of wine. So I drank 3 times red wine. In all these 4 months, I am beginning now 5th month on the 9th of this month, October. So now I feel good. Now I feel good. Therefore, that is where, you know, we need to concentrate on becoming tenants of our own body. Now, another aspect of it. Sometimes I have a conversation with our catechism children. You know, sometimes casually I ask, do you have an iPad? Do you have an iPhone? Do you have a computer? How much time do you spend in front of an iPad, computer and phone? Lot of time. What do you get out of it? No, video games, father. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, you know, just imagine the young minds and the young eyes, how they are going to ruin themselves. Everything is good. The modern world creates everything good. iPad is good, iPhone is good, computer is good. But anything too much, dear friends, it is going to be detrimental to our health of mind and body. Sometimes when I go out, I observe these young children, with their iPads and iPhones, they are all the time browsing. And what happens? I look at the consequences. They cut themselves off from socializing. Have you noticed it? They are socializing with an instrument. All the time socializing with an instrument, and they don't talk to others. They don't have any kind of words to exchange with other kids and relatives and friends. This is where, our eyes are ruined, our minds are ruined, our hearts are ruined, and practically, for that matter, any kind of addiction, whether it is smoking, drinking, or any kind of addiction, is a kind of intrusion into the territory of God, or the private territory where we are the tenants. If we do not take care of that, one day what will happen? The gates will be opened. We will go out of control, no discipline, and thorns and thistles and briars will grow up. And then we will be a lost people. What happens? When the addiction gets into our body, into our mind, into our heart, it gradually has effects in our family, towards our companion, towards our relatives, towards in the society, with all those people whom we meet. I don't want to elaborate on this, dear friends. One thing is very important. God has given us resources. It could be with our wealth, with our health, with everything that is with us. Therefore, we are called to be responsible tenants. Very important aspect when we come to the second reading. St. Paul says, do not worry about anything. Actually, dear friends, one of the things that kills us gradually is our worry. Have you noticed it? Worry kills us. What is the point in thinking about another 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, when there is a life to live today? Often people worry so much that their whole blood pressure, the system gets upset. When we start worrying, we do not gain anything. And therefore Jesus said, look at the birds in the air, lilies in the field. They do not sow, they do not gather in barns, but the Heavenly Father looks after them. Of course, we need to have some security. I cannot say just, I want to live only for today, tomorrow I do not think. But then there is no point in thinking for another 10 years or 25 years. Those 10 years, 25 years may not come in our life. And therefore, important to keep that kind of serenity. That's why St. Paul calls our attention, do not worry about anything, but in everything, present your request to God through supplication and thanksgiving. And the God of peace, who transcends our understanding, will keep your mind and heart safe. And then he continues, always look for whatever is true, just, honorable, commendable, pleasing. All these things really help us to live a harmonious life. Now what is that? True, commendable, just, honorable, pleasing. All of us have good talents. All of us have good things, and therefore we need to appreciate one another. Often what happens, we take the goodness of others for granted. Have you noticed it? When things go on well, we do not even utter a word of appreciation towards our family members, even towards your kids and towards your wife or husband or your relatives or family members. We do not utter a word of appreciation. But when one commits a mistake, then immediately we open 1,000 eyes and we attack that person. Have you noticed it? When there are good things happening, we do not utter a word of appreciation. But St. Paul says very clearly, always Look for whatever is just, true, honorable, pleasing. And then the God of peace will bless us with that kind of peace that will always help us to live harmoniously with one another. Dear friends, long back, it was in 1992, a girl child won a gold medal. Before that, she was born with twisted legs, a Japanese girl, and the parents with their child immigrated to the United States. And the parents did not want to give up on that child. The child was physically challenged. The parents wanted to train the child, give a good future to the child. They invested efforts after efforts and tried to send this child with twisted legs to ice skating early in the morning. Every day she had to go for ice skating before she goes for her school. And in 1992, this girl became so powerful. She won the figure skating women's championship and won gold medal in the 16th edition of the Winter Olympics held in France, Albertville. And that made a big impression. This child who was considered not good, physically challenged, perhaps for many people this was a stone that was rejected that became a cornerstone. And in 1996, she opened a foundation, Dream Always Foundation, for the physically challenged children and less fortunate children. She made a mark in the history of mankind. Therefore, this is what happens when we give attention, when we tap our resources. And that's why Jesus said, if you are not responsible, your vineyard will be taken and entrusted with someone who will produce fruits for God's kingdom. And what are the fruits of God's kingdom? As St. Paul says in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 5, verse 22 to 23. Love, peace, joy, kindness, goodness, generosity, and humility. And therefore, dear friends, let us ask the Lord today during this Holy Eucharist to give us the grace and power to become responsible tenants of the things that are entrusted with us, so that at the end of the day, at the end of our life, we may give a good account to our Heavenly Father, who is the landowner of everything that we have. God bless you.